Hello students, today we'll solve the March 2021 US SAT Math Calculator section together. So let's begin. Question 1. A sample of water was taken from each of 10 different locations in a pond. The pH of each sample was measured. The measurements are summarized in the frequency table below. How many samples have a pH of 7.4 or greater? So from the table, we can see that a pH of 6.8 to 7, one sample, 7.1 to 7.3, two samples, 7.4 to 7.64, and 7.7 to 7.9, three samples. So 7.4 or greater is going to be 4 plus 3, which is 7. Option D. Question 2. In 2015, the city of Miami had a population of 441,000 people and an area of 36 square miles. What was the population density of Miami in people per square miles? So population density will be given by population, which is 441,000 divided by the area, which is 36. So we can plug this in the calculator. Let's do that. 441,000 divided by 36, and we get 12,250, which is option B. Okay, question 3. So this shows two box plots. The Metropolitan Museum of Art has plates on display from the Roman Empire and ancient Greece. The box plots shown summarize the distributions of the diameters in centimeters of all the museum's plates from each region. How does the median diameter of the plates from the Roman Empire R compared to the median diameter of the plates from ancient Greece, G? So we know that the median is this value, right? The line inside the box. So the value of R is going to be between 10 and 15, and the value of G is going to be between 15 and 20. So clearly R is less than G. Okay, question 4. The combustion of glucose releases energy. The ratio of grams of glucose combusted to kilocalories of energy released is 12 to 12 to 45. How many grams of glucose must be combusted to provide 85.5 kilocalories of energy? Okay, so we can see that 12 grams of glucose release 45 kilocalories of energy. So 1 gram of glucose would release 45 by 12 kilocalories. Or the other way to say that is that 45 kilocalories are released with 12 grams of glucose. So 1 kilocalorie is released from 12 by 45 grams of glucose. So 85.5 kilocalories would be released from 12 by 45 multiplied by 85.5 grams of glucose, which we can plug in the calculator. That comes to 12 multiplied by 85.5, and that divided by 45, which comes to 22.8. So 85.5 kilocalories would be released from 22.8 grams of glucose. Okay. Question 5. The function f is defined by fx is equal to x square minus 7. What is the value of f3? So F3 will be 3 square minus 7, which is 9 minus 7, which is 2. That's option C. Okay, question 6. The probability of an unfair coin landing heads side up is 0.6. A student tossed this coin into the air 9 times. It landed tail side up 5 times and head side up 4 times. What is the probability that the coin will land head side up on the 10th toss? So the thing about tossing a coin is that every outcome is independent, right? It doesn't matter what happened before because they are all independent outcomes. So because it's an unfair coin, we know that there is a higher probability of landing head side up, which is 0.6. So regardless of what happened in the first 9 tosses, the probability of getting a head side up on the 10th toss will also be 0.6. So the answer is C. Okay, let's look at question 7. So these are two histograms. The two histograms show the distribution of data set A and data set B respectively. Data set B is the result of removing the outlier from data set A. Which of the following statements about the means of data set A and data set B is true? So you can see that all the values in this region are common to the two data sets, except for this outlier value, right? There is this one outlier value between 60 and 70 that has been removed in data set B, right? So you can see that when I do the sum of values in data set A, then my mean will be, let's call the sum of these values S plus this outlier value divided by what is the total frequency? 2 plus 5, 7 plus 3, 10 plus 2, 12 plus 1, 13. This is for data set A, and the mean for data set B will be S divided by 12. Now you can see that this is a big value, right? Compared to the sum of the other values. The outlier is on the right of the data set. It's a big value. So this will pull this sum to the right, which means it will make the sum greater than it should be. And so the mean of data set A will become greater than the mean of the data set B, right? Which is option B. So that is why we say that outlier values are dangerous if you're calculating mean, because they can give you a misrepresentation of the data set. They can pull the values of the mean in one direction. So the answer here was B. Okay, let's go to question 8 and 9. Okay, these two. So Jaime drove a car from West Union, Minnesota through North Dakota to Miles City, Montana. Okay, she started here and then she went to Montana. Right. Okay, the total distance she traveled through each state is shown below. Minnesota. Okay, shouldn't this be? She started here. I think this should be Montana, right? There seems to be a misprint here because she ended in Montana, so it should be Montana. Okay. The distance d in miles Jaime drove as a function of time since she started driving is modeled by the equation d is equal to 60 t. So I know that distance is speed into time. So then this tells me that her speed was 60 miles per hour, right? Okay. According to the model, what distance in miles had Jaime driven 3 hours after she started driving? So that will simply be 60 into 3, which is 180, option D. And actually, let's clear this first. What's the next question? What interval represents all values of time during which Hayami drove in North Dakota? Right, so we can see that this is 120 miles. So she spent 2 hours here, right? This is 360 miles. So she spent 6 hours here. And this is Montana, where she again spent 2 hours, right? So she basically spent the middle 6 hours in North Dakota, which means that it would be between 2 hours and 8 hours, right? Because the first 2 hours were in Minnesota. From the second to the eighth hour was in North Dakota, and from the eighth to the 10th hour was in Montana. So it should be between 2 and 8, which is option B. Okay. Let's move on. Question 10. The graph shows the number of algae cells grown during an experiment in millions of cells per milliliter of water, D days after the start of an experiment. Between which 2 days was the growth rate in millions of cells per milliliter of water of the algae the greatest? The growth rate was the greatest, right? So we can see that the growth rate is basically the slope of these small segments, right? There is one segment between 3 and 4, there is one segment between 4 and 5, there is one segment between 5 and 6, and so on. So the slope, when it is the steepest, would indicate the highest growth rate, right? For example, on between day 4 and 5, the growth went from about 1 to about, let's say, 2.5, right? But between 5 and 6, it went from about 2.5 to about 4.5. So it was like an increase of 2, right? Which I don't think happens anywhere else. So the steepest or the highest slope corresponds to the highest growth rate, and that happens between day 5 and day 6. Okay. Question 11. A local restaurant gives teachers a 20% discount on all their meals. If a teacher pays $14 for a meal after the discount was applied, what was the price of the meal before the discount? So let's say the price of the meal before the discount is X. Then there is a 20% discount on the meal. So that's X minus 20% of X, which is 0.8X, right? Because X minus 0.2X, which is 0.8X. And this is 14 because the teacher pays $14 after the discount. So the initial price before the discount is 14 divided by 0.8. And we can quickly plug that into the calculator. So that comes to 17.5. So that's option B. Okay, question 12. The frequency table above shows the distribution of the actual number of fluid ounces of water in a random sample of 80 20-ounce bottles. Okay, so there were 20-ounce bottles, and this tells me the actual amount of ounces in those 80 bottles. Bottles are only sold if they contain at least 19.8, but no more than 20.2 fluid ounces of water. Okay, so that means that they have to have at least 19.8, but they should not be more than 20. So this is the range in which the bottle would be sold. If the proportion of bottles that can be sold is the same for the sample and the 16,000 20-ounce bottles produced at the plant each day, how many of the 16,000 bottles cannot be sold, right? So cannot be sold would be, let me change the color. Cannot be sold would be this and this, right? So that's 1 plus 1, 2, right? Because this is, so the 2 bottles out of 80 cannot be sold. So that would mean X bottles out of 16,000, right? Because the ratio would be the same. So here 0 cancels with 0, 8, 200. Yeah. So the number of bottles is 400. 400 bottles cannot be sold. Okay, let's go to question 13. For the linear function f, the table shows, I'll actually bring this back. Yeah. The table shows several values of x and their corresponding values of f of x. What is the y-intercept of the graph of y is equal to fx in the xy plane? Okay, so we have a number of values for x and fx. So we can simply use the, we can first find the slope, right? So let's first find the slope. So I'm going to work with this and this. So let's say 14 minus 8 is 6, and minus 4 plus 2 is minus 2. So the slope is minus 3, right? And then let's work with this point. So I get y minus 8 is equal to minus 3x plus 2, right? So this is the slope point formula. Y minus y1, which in my case is 8, is equal to slope m times x minus x1, which in my case x1 is negative 2. So y minus 8 becomes minus 3x minus 6. So y becomes minus 3x plus 2. Because when I take 8 here, it becomes plus 8 and then minus 6. And this is the slope intercept form of the line, right? And I can see that my y-intercept is going to be 2 from this. So 0, 2 is my y-intercept. Okay, let's go to question 14. When a buffet restaurant charges $12 per meal, the number of meals it sells per day is 400. For each 0.5 increase to the price per meal, the number of meals sold per day decreases by 10. What is the price per meal that results in the greatest sales in dollars from meals each day? Okay, so uh, when it charges $12 per meal, right? And it is able to sell 400 meals, right? So what is the revenue? The revenue is 4,800, right? That's when it charges $12 per meal. Now, let's say it increases the price of the meal by 0.5, right? And it does that X times. So then the new price becomes 12 plus 0.5x, right? Because it's increasing the price of the meal in increments of 0.5. And for each such increment, the number of meals sold is lost by 10. So number of meals will be 400 minus 10x, right? Because for every 0.5 increment, it goes down by 10. So if there are x 0.5 increments, the number of meals sold will go down by 10x. So the new revenue will be 12 plus 0.5x multiplied by 400 minus 10x, right? Because revenue is the number of meals sold multiplied by the cost of each meal. And this, if we open the bracket, becomes 4,800 minus 120x plus 200x minus 5x squared. So let me write this here. Yeah, so this becomes, so my revenue becomes 4800 plus 80x minus 5x squared, right? So this is the quadratic function that I have for the revenue. And since I need to find the price per meal that will result in the greatest sale, I need to basically convert this function in the vertex form, because the vertex form will tell me the greatest possible value of the revenue, right? So let's do that. So I'll rewrite this as minus 5x squared plus 80x plus 4800. I need a little more space, so I'll write this here. Yeah, then yeah, right here. So this I'll take minus 5 common. So x squared minus 16x and 4800 is outside. Okay, and now I need to complete the square. So x squared minus 2x into 8 plus 8 squared, which is 64. And since I have effectively subtracted minus 5 into 64, so I'll add 5 into 64, and 4800 was already there. Okay, I need some more space, so I'll write here. Right, so this becomes minus 5x minus 8 the whole squared plus 64 into 5 is 320, 4800 plus 320, which is 5120. So this is my vertex form of the function that we had figured out, this function, right? So I can see that when x is 8, right? When x is 8, the revenue, which is maximum revenue, will be $5120. And remember what x was? X was the number of increments of $0.5 increase, right, in the price of the meal. So which means the price of the meal should be 12 plus 0.5x, which is 12 plus 0.5 into 8. And let me write it on the right. So I'm writing about this. So the price of the meal was 12 plus 4, which is 16. So if the restaurant sells every meal at $16, then it is able to reach the maximum revenue of $5120. So the answer is option A. Okay, let's go to question 15. The scatter plot shows the relationship between two variables. A line of best fit is also shown. What is an equation of the line of best fit? Okay, so I can see that I can see some numbers 3.7 and 1.3. So clearly my y-intercept is 3.7. It's not 1.3, right? Because it's very close to 4. So that means that it can't be this and it can't be this, because this has a y-intercept of 3.7 and this also has a y-intercept. The other thing I notice is that it's a rising line. It's going up, which means that the slope of the line should be positive, right? So when I say y is mx plus c, m has to be positive because the line is going up. And between option A and C, A has a positive slope, 1.3. The slope of C is negative 1.3, so that can't be the answer. Therefore, the answer is option A. Okay, let's go to question 16. For the linear function f of 2 is 10, and the graph of y is equal to fx in the xy plane has a slope of 3. Which equation defines f? Okay, so we already discussed that the equation that we can use is, as in we discussed this form of the equation, y minus y1 is m times x minus x1, right, for any linear function. So if I know that the value of the function at 2 is 10, then I can say that x1 is 2 and y1 is 10. So y minus 10 is, the slope is 3, 3 times x minus 2. So y minus 10 is 3x minus 6. So y is 3x plus 4, right? So this is the formula, or this is the equation for the function, and we can replace y by fx. So fx is 3x plus 4, option D. Okay, question 17. If 7x plus 21 is negative 2, what is the value of x plus 3? So 7x plus 21 is negative 2. I'll take 7 common. So x plus 3 is negative 2. So x plus 3 is negative 2 by 7. And they've asked us the value of x plus 3 itself, not x. So the answer is negative 2 by 7, option D. Okay, question 18. So this is a pair of simultaneous linear equations. Uh, the solution is x comma y. What is the value of 3x plus y? Okay, so interestingly, if I add them, right? If I add them, I get 3x plus y, and that will be 15. So, sometimes in questions like these, you don't really have to find the individual values of x and y, because if you observe carefully, you might be able to manipulate the equations to get the expression that you've been asked to solve for, right? So that's just option D, 15. Okay. An advertising agency guarantees that its services will increase website traffic by 3.5% compared to each previous week. Which type of function best models the weekly guaranteed website traffic as the number of weeks increases? So this is something you can actually remember once we have discussed it, and this is something which is simple, that if it's a linear function, right, then if it's increasing linear, then the values will increase by the same number, right? So for example, if it starts with 3 and it becomes 7, then it becomes 11, it becomes 15. So they are all increasing by plus 4. If it's a decreasing linear function, the values will decrease by the same number. So if it's starting with 22, it comes to 18, comes to 14, comes to 10. So it's decreasing by negative 4. So that's linear, right? In exponential, the values will increase by the same ratio, right? So if it is increasing exponential, if I start with 2, I go to 4, 8, 16, and so on. So it's every value is getting multiplied by 2. The ratio remains the same. And if it's the decreasing exponential, again, the ratio remains the same, but the values decrease. So if I start with 50, I come to 25, I come to 12.5, and so on. So the ratio is 1 by 2. So if I see that I started with X and I saw an increase of 3.5%, then my next year it would be 1.035X, right? Rather next week, we are dealing with weeks because X plus 3.5% of X. And then the week after that, another 3.5% increase. So it's 1.035 the whole squared into X and so on, right? So basically, we see that with percentage increases, the value keeps getting multiplied by the same ratio. In this case, it is 1.035. And so this is increasing exponential. Option E. Okay, let's go to question 20. The scatter plot shows a data set of 11 points and a line of best fit for the data. For how many data points is the Y value predicted by the line of best fit greater than the actual Y value? Okay, so what that means is that if the Y value predicted by the line of best fit is greater than the actual Y value, I'm basically counting the number of points which are below the line, right? For example, let's say I'm looking at this point, right, which is below the line. So the Y value predicted at, let's say this corresponds to an X value of 14. So the Y value predicted by the line of best fit is this, right, which is definitely higher than the actual Y value. So we have to find all such points which are below the line. So that's going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, right? And just to confirm, there were 11, so where are the other 6? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Yeah, so 5 points are below the line. So the answer is option A. Okay. Dana is riding in a 100-mile log bicycle race. The function f defined by fx is equal to 100 minus 18x models the number of miles that Dana has remaining x hours after she starts the race. What is the best interpretation of f2 being 64? So when I look at this, fx is equal to 100 minus 18x. I know that she started with 100 miles, and this function is telling me the number of miles that she has remaining x hours after she started the race. So this is in hours. So this is a distance function. This is distance. So this also has to be distance, which means that d is equal to 18x, where this is distance and this is time, tells me that this has to be her speed, right? Which means that Dana is going at a speed of 18 miles per hour. And that is why for x hours, she's able to cover a distance of 18x. And so the number of miles remaining in the race is going to be 100 minus 18x, right? So how can we interpret F2 being 64? If she has been going for x is equal to 2 hours, then the number of miles that remain is 64 in the race, right? So let's go with the options. Dana rides about 64 miles. No, that's not what we are saying. The number of miles remaining is 64. So option E is not the answer. Dana will ride the last 64 miles of the race. No, that's not what we are saying either. When Dana has ridden 64 miles, she has about, no, that's not what we are saying. It's rather that 2 hours after Dana starts the race, she has about 64 miles remaining, right? That's what we are saying, that when she has gone for 2 hours in the race, the number of miles remaining is 64. So the answer is option D. Okay, let's go to 22nd. Triangle ABC and triangle DEF each have an angle measuring 29 and an angle measuring 54 degrees, as shown above. So we already know that they are similar, right? Because their corresponding angles are the same. So they are similar triangles. Which of the following statements is sufficient to prove that they are congruent? Triangle ABC is congruent. So the length of EF is 10. Okay, that doesn't tell me anything unless I also know the length of BC, so it can't be A. The measure of angle EDF is 97, right? That is something I can already find because I have two angles, so the third angle has to be 97 because the sum of the angles is 180, so that doesn't tell me anything. The length of BC is equal to the length of EF. Yes, that is important because we have the ASA property of congruency, which says that if there are two angles which are correspondingly equal in two triangles, and the included side is also equal, then they are congruent. So this definitely proves, option C proves that the two triangles are congruent. And the measure of angle BAC is equal to the measure of angle EDF. As we already saw, that doesn't matter because we already knew these were equal when we said that they were similar. So the answer is C. Okay, 23rd. How many solutions does the equation x mod x plus 7 is equal to -4 have? So I know that the absolute value function can never be negative, right? Because the absolute value function returns either 0 or a positive value. So here I see that the absolute value function is -4, which is impossible. So this will have 0 solutions. Okay, 24. 3x squared plus x minus 2 is equal to 0. This is a quadratic equation. The solutions to the quadratic equation are a and b. What is the value of a and b? Okay, so we have something called Vieta's formula, which tells me that the sum of the roots of a quadratic equation will be negative times the coefficient of x, which in this case is 1, divided by the coefficient of x squared, which in this case is 3, right? So the sum of the roots here would be -1 by 3. You don't have to use this Vieta's rule. You can actually solve this. And so let's try and solve this. So 3x squared plus 3x minus 2x minus 2 is 0. So 3x x plus 1 minus 2x plus 1 is 0. So 3x minus 2 into x plus 1 is 0. So x is 2 by 3 and -1. So if you add 2 by 3 and -1, you will get -1 by 3. So you can either solve the equation or you can use the sum of roots formula and get the answer quickly. Okay, 25. In the figure shown, point O is the center of the circle. One vertex of the square lies on the circle and the opposite vertex is point O. If the area of the shaded region is 36 pi minus 18, what is the perimeter of the square? Okay, so let's first join this, right? Let's call this point A. So we know that OA is the radius, right? So if OA is the radius, then the area of the circle would be pi r squared, right? We also see that OA is the diagonal of the square, right? So if the side of the square is x, let's call this B and this is C. So let's say AB is x, then I can see that by Pythagoras theorem, x root 2 will be r, right? Because the diagonal is root 2 times the side of the square. So what will be the area of the square? Area of the square would be x squared, which will be r squared by 2, because x is r by root 2, so this is r squared by 2. So the area of the shaded region the shaded area will be the area of the circle, right, minus the area of the square. Yeah, correct? Because the square is not shaded. So that is pi r squared minus r squared by 2, and that is given as 36 pi minus 18. So actually I can show it to you properly. Let me just erase this. Okay, so then, yeah, so if I take r square common, then pi minus 1 by 2, and here if I take 36 common, then pi minus 1 by 2 here as well, right? Because 36 by 2 is 18. So this and this cancels. So r squared is 36, so r is 6. So the radius is 6, right? This OA, this is 6. Now they're asking the perimeter of the square, for which I need the side of the square, x. So x will be 6 by root 2, right? Because it's r by root 2, which is 3 root 2, right? So the perimeter of the square will be 4x, which is 12 root 2. Option C. Okay. Let's go to 26. Which of the following is equivalent to the expression x to the power 4 minus 8x squared plus 16? Okay, so we can actually see that there are some patterns we can observe. We can write this as x squared the whole squared, and we can write 16 as 4 squared, and this we can write as 2 times 4 times x squared, right? So this is like if x squared were a and if 4 were b, then this is like a square minus 2ab plus b squared. So that's a minus b the whole square, x squared minus 4 the whole square. So yeah, so it is definitely 2. Now what about x squared minus 4 the whole square? Let's look at that. Let's look at x squared minus 4 the whole square. So when you have x squared minus 4 the whole square, now if you notice x squared minus 4 can be written as x squared minus 2 squared, and a square minus b square is a plus b into a minus b, so that can be written as x plus 2 into x minus 2, right? So I can write x squared minus 4 the whole square as x plus 2 the whole square and x minus 2 the whole square. So in fact, 1 is also correct. So this expression is equivalent to both 1 and 2, option C. Okay, so that was 26. Let's go to 27. Each year, the value of an investment increases by 2.5% of the previous year's value. The initial value of the investment was $500. Which equation gives the value of the investment X years after the initial investment? Okay, so this is the compound interest formula, right? 1 plus R over 100 to the power T, right? So here the initial investment P is 500. The rate of interest is 2.5, and we have to find the value after X years. So Y is 500 into 1.025 to the power X, right? So that's option B. 1 plus 2.5%, so 1.025. Okay, let's go to 28. So this is a system of simultaneous linear equations Let's try and find how many solutions. Okay, so if you have a system of simultaneous linear equations of this form, and e2x plus b2y is c2, then the thing that will tell me the number of solutions is the ratios a1 by a2, b1 by b2, and c1 by c2. So let me find those first. So a1 by a2 is 5 by minus 60, which is minus 1 by 12. Yeah. b1 by b2 is already minus 1 by 12. And c1 by c2 is 9 minus 108. And 9, yeah, that's also minus 1 by 12. So when a1 by a2, b1 by b2, and c1 by c2 are all equal, then the system has infinitely many solutions because effectively they are the same line, right? Because if I take minus 12 common in the second line, then I'll get minus 12 times 5x minus y on the left hand side, and minus 12 times 9 on the right hand side, and minus 12 will get cancelled. So effectively they are the same line. Okay. Right, I hear a little bit of noise outside, so let me just quickly close the balcony door and I'll be back in a bit. Okay. Okay, so we are done with question 28. Let's go to 29. Bridges have spaces between their sections to allow for expansion and contraction caused by temperature variation. This space is known as the gap width. The size of the gap width, Wt in inches, is a linear function of temperature in degrees Fahrenheit. For a certain bridge, the gap width is 2.875 inches at 40 degree F and 1.875 inches at 100 degree F. Which of the following describes the relationship between temperature and gap width? Okay, so it's we notice that this is to do with a linear function. So can I work with just looking at the way the options are written. So okay, fine, that's fine. So let me first do, so can I do, yeah, I'll just work with y minus y1 is m times x minus x1. That's something that, and then later we can figure out which of these is the answer. So I'm working with m. So we are basically trying to, so the y variable here is the gap width and the x variable here is the temperature, right? Right, so then that would be 1.875 minus 2.875 divided by 100 minus 40, which is minus 1 by 60. Okay, so m is minus 1 by 60. Okay, then I can write, 1 second. So if m is minus 1 by 60, so I can write y minus, let me work with 2.875 and 40 because I see those numbers in my option, right? So let's say y minus what is 2.875 is minus 1 by 60 times x minus 40, right? And now I think I'll replace y with wt and x with t. So wt minus 2.875 is minus 1 by 60 into t minus 40, which further takes me to the next part, which is what? Yeah. So then WT, if I take this minus 2.875 to the right hand side, it would be minus 1 by 60 times T minus 40 plus 2.875. And I think I have that option, right? It's option A, minus 1 by 60 times T minus 40 plus 2.875. So option A is the right answer. Okay. Right. Let's go to question 30. The number of books in a library increases by 30% from 2002 to 2014. There were X books in the library in 2002. Which expression represents the number of books in the library in 2014? Okay, so books in 2014 is X plus 30% of X, right? Because it increased by 30%. So that's just 1.3x, right? So that's option C, increase of 30%. Okay, let's now look at the brilliant questions. 31. In a survey of 240 television viewers, 3/5 indicated that they like comedies, some indicated that they do not like comedies, and the rest did not respond. If one of the 240 viewers is selected at random, the probability is 115 that the viewers selected did not respond. How many of the 240 viewers indicated that they do not like comedies? Okay, so those who like comedies is 3/5 of 240, which is how much? 8 threes 4, 144. So 144 like. And how many did not respond? That's 115. 1 by 15 into 240, which is how much? 15 ones are 15, 15 6 up. So 16 did not respond. So the total is 0. So 160 people was the number that did not like or did not respond, right? So how many, sorry, 160 was the people that liked or did not respond. So how many did not like? That will be 240 minus 160, which is 80, right? So 80 did not like. Okay, what is the y-coordinate of the y-intercept of the graph of this function? So to find the y-intercept, we put x as 0. So y is 3 to the power 0 plus 9, which is 1 plus 9, which is 10. So the y-coordinate is 10. Right, let's go to this. Triangle ABC is similar to triangle DEF, where angle A corresponds to angle D. Okay, what is the value of cos F? So basically F is the same as C, right? So cos F is equal to cos C, and cos C will be base over hypotenuse, which will be 24 by 30, which is 4 by 5. So cos F is also 4 by 5. Right, let's go to 34. Yeah, the graph shows the power capacity for the 9 countries that had the greatest geothermal power capacity in 2010. What was the capacity in megawatts of the country that had the median capacity of the 9 countries? Okay, so if there are 9 countries and I put them in order, then the median would be the 5th country, right? Because when it's an odd number of items, the median is the number of terms plus 1 whole divided by 2, that item. So it's the 5th item. So I'll just put them in order. The lowest is El Salvador, 1. The next is Japan. The third is Iceland. Fourth is New Zealand, and Italy is 5, right? Italy is 5, right? If I find the sixth one, it's going to be Mexico. Seventh is Indonesia. Yeah, so Italy is fifth. So my median is Italy, which is 863. Okay. Question 35. Line L is shown in the xy plane and the point with coordinates 2, C is on line L. Okay, 2, C. So this one. What is the value of C? Right. So we have the coordinates, right? So we can actually find the equation really quickly. I mean the intercepts. We have the x-intercept is 5, 0, and we have the y-intercept as 0, 4. So my slope will be negative 4 by 5, right? Negative 4 by 5 is my slope. So the equation is mx plus c negative 4 by 5x plus 4 because the y-intercept is 4. So when x is 2, y is c, so c is minus 4 by 5 into 2 plus 4, which is minus 8 by 5 plus 4, which is minus 8 plus 20 by 5, which is 12 by 5, right? So the value of C is 12 by 5 or 2.4. Okay, that was 35, 3 more to go. 36. Okay. The table gives the typical adult weight ranges and lifespans for African and Asian elephants in the wild. Okay, so this is the adult weight ranges and lifespans. Okay, based on the table, what is the typical minimum weight of an adult African element in the wild in pounds? Okay, so I'm looking at African element and elephant, and I'm looking at the typical minimum weight in pounds. So I have 1 ton is 2000 pounds. So 2.5 tons will be 2.5 into 2000, which is 5000. So the typical minimum weight of an adult African elephant is 5000 pounds. Okay, let's do 37. Based on the table, the typical lifespan of the African elephant in the wild, typical lifespan. Okay, this one is P% greater than the typical lifespan of the Asian elephant in the wild. What is the value of P? Disregard the percentage sign. Okay, so basically P% greater than that of the Asian elephant. So that would be 70 minus 60 by 60 into 100, right? And that's 10 by 60 into 100, right? I'm just looking at, I'm making sure that I've picked the right values. Yeah, so yeah, so that becomes 100 by 6. Okay, so that's how much? I think it's 16.66, right? Yeah, are they asking us the whole number answer? No, I don't think so. So we can just enter, I guess we can enter 16.66 or, no, actually we can't enter 16.66. So we'll have to enter 16.6 or 16.7. That's strange because we normally don't leave that open to interpretation by the student. Right. Never mind. So that's fine. So we'll just say 16.6 or 16.7. 50 by 3. Yeah, I'm just going to confirm if this is indeed the right answer. T divided by 3. Yeah, it is. So, fine. Okay. Right. And then the last question. The table shows several values of x and their corresponding values of fx. The function is defined by fx is mx plus b, where m and b are constants. What is the value of b? Okay, so this is something that we have done. So let's quickly find the slope first. The slope will be 151 minus 106 by 3 minus 2, 1, which is 11 minus 6, 5, 4, 45. So my slope is 45. So then I can say y minus 106 is 45 times x minus 2, which is 45x minus 90. So y is 45x plus 16, right? 45x plus 16. So the value of b is 16. Okay, so that was the calculator section of the March 2021 QAS. Hope you found this video useful. Please subscribe to the channel if you did and share the video with your friends. I'll see you guys soon in another video. Bye-bye.